Hello, how are you? Welcome. Michael Almaraz here with Deeper States Mind and Wellness. I am a clinical hypnotherapist who uses neurolinguistic programming, and I've been doing hypnotherapy and NLP for the past 20 years. I am so excited today. I have been doing hypnobirthing for a while, and I just look back and I actually had 10 hypnobirthings under my belt, and I wasn't really keeping track of that. But it was pretty exciting to realize that we had that many hypnobirths since I have been in business, as well as other things going on in the practice all the time. But I'm really excited today because a lot of you saw that I did a hypnobirthing that was pretty awesome with one of my clients, and I am excited because she's here with me today, and we're going to be able to talk with her and be able to find out her version of the experience. And being a therapist, being a hypnotist, I kind of know the power of hypnosis and the power of neurolinguistic programming, how our mind tells our body what to expect as opposed to our body telling our mind what we should expect. So today I'm excited because I'm here with Dr. Picoya. She is a clinical psychologist, and she came to Deeper States Mind and Wellness, and I had the pleasure to work with this beautiful couple with the hypnobirthing, and she's awesome. She has come a long way in her life. She's young and she's gotten so many things done underneath her belt. She is just I'm so proud of where she is, and I just can't wait to see where she's going because I think Pacoya is going to have some awesome future plans happening, and she's already in the works of that right now. She got her doctorate at the Chicago School of Psychology. She's in the process right now of creating a series of children's books that work with clinical psychology and how it relates to a child and how the psychology relates to raising the child. And she's going to give us more about that when she talks. But anyway, I'm really excited. I hope you guys enjoy this because I am just pleased to have her here today. So take a moment and just welcome Dr. Pacoya, and we're going to talk to her a little bit. We're going to find out what her experience was and what happened and how she came to me and everything else. So, hey, how are you?
Hi, Michael. How are you?
I'm good. How you doing? So good to see you.
I'm well. See, thank you.
You're welcome. You look great. You look great.
After
Um,
20 days? Yeah.
yeah, you're
Thank
looking
you.
really good. Very
Thank you.
excited. Awesome. I want to just kind of talk a little bit about the whole hypnobirthing experience for you. As a hypnotist, a lot of times what happens, I've had a root canal done with hypnosis and no anesthesia, so I kind of know the power of it. But I want to get kind of like your view from the outside. I mean, from not, because for me, I know that what we can do with it. But I'd like our audience to kind of understand a little bit about how the power of mind really is. I mean, what you're kind of limitless, right? I mean, you're a psychologist, so you kind of know that in
Right.
multiple ways, right? So, um, tell me a little bit. I kind of introduced you already. If I missed something, please go ahead and fill in the blanks because you're a very versed young lady, and I know that you've got so much potential still ahead of you. So
Like, thank you. That's very kind, all your kind words. I think one thing is important to add too is I appreciate, yes, I am young in a sense, but in the medical world, I'm not. I am
good.
39 years old,
Oh,
and this is my first child. So coming in and where I can say hypnobirthing help is because you go in and my experience going in, and this is my first child, I am in extreme health. I work out 3 and 4 times a week, but I get to my doctor's office and they're immediately like, you're older, you're high risk, you know, all these things, you can have this and this and this go wrong, and I'm already freaking out, and I'm just like, I thought I was coming in here. So all
were you like,
together,
excuse me? What do you mean?
like,
Were you like,
right?
what?
Yes. I have been judged, and
Yes.
it's already so much pressure and fear around childbirth that I found working with you helped even in those smaller nuances where I'm faced with my doctor's appointments each week, and I have more appointments, and thank God, yes, it's good to have the extra care and the extra support, but that also weasels its way into your mind that I'm high risk, that things are already going to go wrong. This is already going
Absolutely.
to be really painful. This is already going to be scary. First time women have the longest delivery times and the most complications. And television doesn't show what happened in that delivery room, right?
Yeah.
It shows people are beating their husbands up and losing their mind and
Well,
turning
we only
into
had a
the
little bit of that,
exorcist.
right?
Correct. Considering my story, I think it was worth it. But
Absolutely.
yeah, we see these frightening things and these frightening images every day and associate that with childbirth. And it's wrong. It's a misconception. Some pieces are true, but we do have control.
How'd you end up coming to me? How did you come to the idea that you were going to hypnobirth as opposed to, I mean, most women have been like, oh, just give me the epidural, let me, I just get this out of me right now. I'm not doing this, right? So,
Right.
and I know that a lot of, and in my experience and what I've understood and what I know with the medical field and everything else, and going into the process, is that it is one of the most beautiful things to be able to do a natural childbirth. And
Hmm.
I just kind of wondered, like, what, because all the women in the past have come to me for hypnobirthing, had done a lot of research. So how did you choose to come in and do a hypnobirthing?
You know what? I can't even say I researched. And as a psychologist, like somehow the stars aligned and we found each other.
Yeah.
As a psychologist, and this is, I'm going to say back in 2014, I was in my program. I was taking a hypnosis elective, and the instructor utilized hypnosis in his practice. He was sharing stories how he can help us with our dissertation and plug these little things in. So we're all like, yes, how am I going to pass comps? How am I going to get through my dissertation? How do I have no more stress around this program? And then even further, he went on to say, I utilized this technique with my wife when she delivered all three of our children, and she didn't feel any pain. At the time, I'm not even thinking about children, but I just banked it. And I was like, okay, I'm coming back to find him, actually, in my mind. That's what I told myself. Ooh, when I get pregnant, I'm going to do this. But as a
Sure.
psychologist, I understand the power of the mind. I understand hypnosis and believe in it, but not everyone does. Not everyone in every woman in that class was like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to do this." They were like, "Nope,
Sure.
drugs, sign me up. I'm not trying to, do any of this." So that stayed in my mind. And as I, become pregnant, I'm like, I do want the healthier options. I did look into birth centers, but the hospital I was at, I trusted the staff. And then someone brought up, "Oh, have you ever had hypnobirth? Do you know what that is?" And I'm like, "What is that?" They're like, "Oh, you've never heard of it?" No. "You know who the hypnobirth?" And I'm like, "No, send me his information." And that was it.
And we
And
connected.
and we connected. That was it. And it took me back to 2014 when I said this. I told myself this is what I'm going to do. So again, how does our mind work? We're put on each other's path, and I'm like, that story itself is like, I said I would do this. So I didn't research. I didn't do all these things. I just knew this is something I wanted.
Sure.
In the same way a woman picks, I'm going to do this at home versus I'm doing this in the hospital versus I'm doing it
Mhm.
in a birthing center. We pick what we want and then it comes.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of that's really unconscious. I mean, we like to say in hypnosis that hypnosis is kind of like everybody knows it because everybody knows is who they are. So if you can go in the unconscious mind, it's really self-developing. As a hypnotist, we're just giving you the tools and we're giving you the pathway to go through that kind of we're holding up the mirror for you. And with that being said, I want to kind of ask you a little bit about how was the process for you working with me? What was that process like? Let them know kind of the experience for you. Because like I said, I mean, I know what it does. So I remember there were aha moments for you. And I'm like, okay, that's kind of normal, you know?
Meaning in the delivery room or
Or working
for
with us
the
from the
10
beginning.
weeks from the beginning. Okay.
Correct.
Well, one, I went in, I had to change is expecting like something. Again, what we see on TV, we see people on stage and it's like, and voila, this is going to happen. But um, each time I felt in my day to day, I would say more comfortable and less anxiety, even when I was going to my every 2 week appointments and having all these ultrasounds and just everyone's stories about their birthing experience. It kind of started rolling off of me. I noticed the more we worked together of like, oh, I'm not going to have this kind of pain. I even stopped talking or engaging in conversations just using pain
Sure.
versus how we talked about, there will be some discomfort and your body is going to respond in this way. And I found in conversations, I didn't feel tense or afraid when people were like, oh my gosh, this can be horrific. And
Sure.
my doctors are like, take this medication and because this can happen. I was just like, oh, okay. Well, I don't know who that's going to happen to, but I
Sure.
just felt more at
Absolutely.
ease each week. Another funny and awesome experience is I had a baby whisperer, and she did some sessions where she can say, "Oh, I can contact the baby." I'm just like, "Okay, let's do it." Um, and she brought up some points that the baby is giving her this message of feeling so calm. And she asked, what are you doing? Are you meditating or something? Do you do something with some blue light? Or the baby says, I like that. Keep doing it. So I'm like, well, I meditate every night, but I'm going to have to check with Michael because I don't exactly remember
Sure.
what you're telling me, right? And I remember I check in with you. I'm like, hey, are you doing something with some blue shower? It's calming. The baby is, and you're like, oh yeah, that's kind of some, plugs, or we're talking about this coolness coming down, and
Mhm.
it's reaching the baby. I'm like, oh my gosh, well, he told the other lady this,
Sure.
so. And looking at my child now, I will say he's so calm, just calm. The only time he cries is when I change his diaper, and that's only if I didn't feed him first. So
Okay.
my mother, they're all like, this baby is so cool. What were you doing? They're like, I didn't, I
Ah,
gotta say, at the time where you were doing all these things and meditating and hypnosis and keeping yourself calm, I wouldn't have attested that it's going to impact your child. And now me seeing your baby just sitting, like, he's basically in a rocking chair watching us all day. Like, and I
just sitting
believe in
back.
creating, yes, I believe in creating an emotional environment as well as our physical one. We eat, we stay away from smoke, but our emotional stability, we don't put a lot
Mhm.
into it. And I really can contribute our work to helping with that emotional and that environment that I've created for the baby as well. And for me, it impacted me that I'm calm, that the child is calm as well. So,
And absolutely. I mean, do you remember when they used to put classical music with headphones on the stomach?
mm-hmm,
I mean, and this is the thing, is that every human being is energy, right?
mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm,
you have a little ball of energy growing inside of you. And when I'm connecting you with your son, or I'm connecting me with your son's calmness or relaxation to be able to just be comfortable
mm-hmm.
inside, they feel it, they sense it, it's energetic, right? So I've
Yes.
always really known. I mean, it's really interesting because even when we're online like this, when I'm working with clients, I feel their energy. I
Mm-hmm,
mean, we are connected in so many ways. And he, every time, and the way the blue light came into play is that I would have you in trance, pull in the blue light from calmness and peace from the world. You look at a blue sky and you see the white puffy clouds. It's the most tranquil moment in your life, right? You're just kind of
mm-hmm,
fading away, going, "Oh, that's so beautiful." So I would always pull the blue light and run it through your body to use a relaxation process to get you even deeper. We call it compounding suggestions in hypnosis. So, so when you told me that, I was like, "Oh wow." We just made this interconnection with this young man. And it was really
mm-hmm,
funny too, because what happened was with this little boy, little baby, what was really funny is that I hypnobirthed one other client, and that every time I see that little girl, she hears my voice and she just comes over and she's like, "Oh, hi." And now to this day, she comes and gives me a hug. It's really, really funny. But you're making an internal connection.
I believe my sir will meet you one day in person and do the same.
Absolutely. It's really funny. It's really, really funny. You'll be like,
Yeah.
so how do you think we did have to change the way you thought about pain?
Mm-hmm.
And how do you think that that kind of prepared you for actually going into the birthing room? Because you can tell your story at that point about kind of like what ended up happening.
I
Before we
know.
go into that though, you chose something, and a lot of times I would just it just comes to my client. And it's in all modalities, not just hypnobirthing. Well, they'll just be like, "Oh, I had this thought in my mind when I was under about wanting to do this like this." And they remember I said everything we're just holding a mirror for you. Bless you. And you had in your mindset something that you want to utilize for your birthing process. Share that with us because it really does come.
I used the caterpillar going into a butterfly. Um, And I remember initially I was like, what can you were like, we're gonna have to connect with something. And then, it wasn't a flower and it wasn't, and I was just like, I don't know. What do I like? What takes me there? And it's butterflies. I even used to get them from caterpillars and hatch them in my own house. And have them, I watch the whole process and I think it's so amazing. I connect the strength. Butterflies all, the caterpillar almost dies, go figure,
Hmm.
and how that popped up for me. And I can visualize, I could really connect that because I've taken the caterpillars, I've watched them cocoon, and I've released, the butterfly. So I could visually see that and connect with that process, that I personally internalize that as a sense of strength. Like,
Hmm.
this is what we have to go through. Why that also connected with me so much is women tend to possibly die during childbirth. This is
Sure.
it takes you to that brink. It can happen. There was fears around numbers and statistics currently for Black women, and
Hmm.
80% dying on the table. And I'm just like, okay, I know I'm gonna have to go through this, but I'm gonna live. Okay, the butterfly will leave the room. So it was those things that naturally connected me. And again, it's something I love. I can see it, I can feel it. It really resonates with me.
And we talked a lot about rumors, right? I mean, because you hear all these rumors, and that's what's
Yeah.
really interesting is that every woman I've ever helped go through hypnobirthing comes in with this belief system about, oh my
Mm-hmm.
gosh, some people say it's going to be really hard, some people say it's going to really be painful, some people say very few women come to me and say, oh, it's really going to be easy. They're just like,
Right.
oh, because rumors are that certain things that we do in life are difficult,
Mm-hmm.
and birthing should be one of them according to rumor, right? According to
Everyone.
talk and tales, right? so,
Right.
so let's talk a little bit about what happened with you, because and I want to kind of eliminate the word pain and still remain
Mm-hmm.
it with discomfort, because I really do believe that when we change that mindset in our mind, we can utilize that in any other process in our life. I mean, I had surgery for glaucoma, and I had my head cut in open from one side to another, and they had given me Tylenol 3 with codeine, and it gave me horrible nightmares. So I actually went into self trance, and I reduced the pain of that, and I just put myself in. I want to call it like a bear goes into hibernation. I mean, I slept for basically 3 days straight, got up to go to the restroom when I had to, and lived on dates and water. It was zero pain,
Mm.
and they told me, "Oh, it's going to be really painful. You're going to go through a week of pain. But we're going to give you enough Tylenol 3 with codeine so you won't feel it." Well, I was like, I'm done with that. So I actually kept myself in trance for 3 straight days, healing, visualizing healing,
Mm.
and just putting myself in a dormant state. So that's something you'll have for the rest of your life. You'll be able to, as long as you don't say, "Oh my God, that was painful," right? You say, "Oh, that was a little discomfort. That was a little uncomfortable." It changes the dynamics of how the brain experiences that.
Right.
So when you went into your water breaking and then actually going to birthing with me, the initial part of the water breaking, what do you think that level of discomfort was, 1 to 10? Because I
0.
remember the answer to this. Okay.
Like, my water broke and I was like, hey, this is happening. Like,
Yes.
I was excited. I'm like, oh yeah, let's get in there. Let's get this little flower out. Let's get this little butterfly out of here. I was just more like, yes, like we're prepared. Our
This is it.
bags are
Yep.
packed. We had been guessing the date and all this, so it was just so much excitement. It wasn't fear. I was like, am I going to be soaked all the way there? Like, no one. I didn't talk to anyone about this part.
Mhm.
If my water breaks, do I carry this dry towel with me? It was more of like, oh my gosh, like I'm completely wet, and
This
I'm
is
like,
it.
we're ready. Let's do this. When do I call
Absolutely.
Michael?
Very
So
cool.
no discomfort, and I recall them asking me because they put the monitors on
Mhm.
to monitor my contraction. They're like, "Wow, you're contracting already at every 2 minutes." And by the time I got to the hospital, it was like 20 minutes from my house. So from my water breaking, and they're like, "This is happening. This baby's gonna come out in like an hour or two. Are you feeling that?" And I was like, "No,
Mm.
not at all. I feel great. Let's do it."
And then let's talk about
So
what
that's
happened once we got in there. So you had a long, extensive birthing period,
I did. I
all the way up to a full 10 centimeters, right?
correct.
So how long was that, Pacoya?
36 hours. It was
Okay.
36 hours. Friday night, 10 p.m. is when my water broke. I delivered Sunday at, should I give the surprise away? At 10:26 a.m.
Absolutely.
And
Very cool.
yeah,
And during that time, did you ever so we'll explain a little bit. So every time there would be a wave of discomfort, I would take Picoya into a trance state and get her to raise the resistance or raise the level of discomfort that she could tolerate for discomfort a little bit higher. So when she hit 10 centimeters, there was still very little discomfort. And the funny part was that there was no reactions coming out of you because it wasn't like this, oh my God, this is discomfortable. I can't do this discomfort. Anytime during that period of those hours, did you ever have this moment of like, oh shit, I just can't do this? Or were you like, okay, I'm just doing this?
I was just doing it. I was doing it and when it became more intolerable or uncomfortable, it was more honestly about the time.
Mhm.
The time started setting in for me. Like, I've been here too long. Something's wrong.
Mhm.
And that's what kind of penetrated. There wasn't like this, and as I'm going back and thinking about that, my husband and I come away like, this worked so well. Like,
Too well.
too well, because I they were just like, "Oh, you're fine." Yes. And the important piece of my water breaking that I think is um, a big part of this story is they can't go in and manually check me.
Mhm.
So they have to rely on me telling them how much pain I'm in. And I'm like, yeah, it's pain. They use pain, right? And I'm like,
Mhm.
well, it's uncomfortable.
Absolutely.
Like, well, do you feel it consistent? I'm like, mm-hmm. So that's their go off. And again, their meaning the delivery nurse. They can only do
Mhm.
so much before that doctor comes in. So as I'm
Correct.
sitting here just riding the wave, like handling it, again, I don't think they're conditioned to see that either. They're used when
Correct.
people are screaming and knocking things over, that gets attention. Whereas I'm like, no, this is it's uncomfortable. I feel it consistently. They're like, oh, you're gonna feel it. You're gonna know. And
Correct.
then that's when we're gonna start doing something more. So this is how this carried out for 3 days because I'm just too cool, Michael. Thank you.
You're welcome. And I'll tell you, so what's really interesting is that they always wait. The wait, once you hit 10 centimeters, they
Mm-hmm.
won't let you go past 2 hours. But
Mm-hmm.
like with you, that 10 centimeter moment may be a long time. And
Yeah.
if you're not feeling pain, which they refer to as you will know it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it shouldn't be that discomfortable that you know it. It's a
Right.
very natural process, right?
Right.
I think I told you at the very beginning, I said, in China, when a woman gives birth, they just take the child away. Well, she's working the rice paddies. They're
Mm-hmm.
busy. They're being
Correct.
used, right? So
Mm-hmm.
they take the baby away and the woman continues working the rice paddy. How are and I don't want to bash on the medical field. God, we need them.
Correct.
but
Yeah.
but the
Yeah.
thing is that in the olden days, they used to even during surgery sit there and say things to to each other that were not proper. And it's interesting because I mean, I remember an old story where there was a surgery, and the doctor had said something like, it's going to be really tough for me to get out of this situation. He was completely talking about something in his private life. And this woman started, there's a actually medical paper that was written on it. And this patient had problems with recovery for like 2 years with something that was a very normal surgery, very normal recovery rate. But what was interesting was that they learned, and now they don't do it. They're supposed to not discuss personal stuff, and I'll tell you, they still kind of do because I remember, I remember when I had a detached retina because my dog had hit me in the eyeball, and I remember hearing them talking about the stock market and what they had been investing in. It brought me up enough from the anesthesia for me to be able to say, yeah, I invested in Google also. I only have a couple shares. Well, of course, they turned the gas up and got rid of me because they didn't want me with them.
Right.
But the
Right.
power of the mind is
Yeah.
pretty strong. And if they would just say, how are you feeling, or even
Mhm.
when you get a shot, imagine what it'd be like if they said, this you're just gonna have a little discomfort. So just take a
Mhm.
deep breath when we go ahead and inject the shot through you.
Right.
But even as a little kid, we're told, oh, it's just gonna hurt for a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, oh hell.
Right. I don't want that. Right.
I don't want to hurt for a
Discomfort.
little bit.
It's that's right. And
Mhm.
yeah. So going through that, I'm happy that I had the way I handled it.
Mhm.
And like we said, God bless our medical professionals here. And that's just their training and their conditioning. So we're all
Mhm.
going off of one another. Um, until how do they get to the point where they're like, oh, maybe something isn't right anymore? And
Correct.
as in hindsight with this story is, it turns out the baby was stuck. The
Mhm.
baby was face up. The baby had the cord around his neck, his
And we
butt,
got
and it
we got
was
all the way up to being able to see his head beginning to pull through and seeing the umbilical cord wrapped in. So we saw that. So of
mm-hmm.
course the nurse is going to be like, "Oh, we're going to let him drop a little more." Remember?
And mind you, I'm still sitting here like this, like, okay.
Okay.
And they're like, do you want to? I was just like, something. And that's when it was like, again, with time and what they were now
Mhm.
starting to say to me, that I'm like, okay, hold on. Something's not right. And I'm
Correct.
like, something's not right. And I can feel it. I don't know. You're connected. The kid's telling you, like, mom, something's not right.
Mhm.
And, but there is no level of pain that's coming through me to indicate,
Correct.
something's not right. It's just me being like, I don't want to do this anymore. Something's not right. Can't. And they're like, well, do you want to see? Sure. Let me see. Yeah, because we probably would have been there for another 15 more hours had I not seen my anatomy. And I was like,
Sure.
that's mine. Okay, this is over. Something's not right. It should not look like that. It's just been swollen. It's been, the hands, they've been doing all their work. And they pull in the ultrasound machine.
Mhm.
It was there, not my screaming, not my beating up my husband or knocking over, hitting nurses or kicking anyone. It was me saying, that doesn't look normal for me. Something's not right. They pull in an ultrasound and they say, oh my gosh, you're right. Baby's face up. We could try to turn them. We could do, nope, 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 nope. We're
That's
done.
it. Mhm.
This is it.
Absolutely.
And and I opt for a C-section because they're like, we can try to turn them. It may not work, but you still may do that. I think, again, a, a huge point, the baby's heart rate never went out of control. They
Correct.
try to tell me it was, but I'm like, no, you guys are missing the monitor. When I
And let's
contract,
talk a little bit
he
about that.
runs.
Let's talk a little bit about that because I'm going to tell you they do that with every one of my
Mm-hmm.
hypnobirthings. They and I can't, I'm not a doctor, so I can't say, this is what you don't want to do, right? But
Mm-hmm.
their idea is to come in and put a prong on the baby's head.
Right.
And it kind of looks like one of those tools that, you go in and you push the button and it opens up and it's got spikes on it and use it to pick up screws in mechanics, right?
Correct.
So they just kind of stick it in there and
Vicious.
pop it on his head, and he would have sat there and they would have monitored. But that makes it so they don't have to keep coming in and looking in on you, keep trying to get the belt to move.
Right.
One thing it was proactive with you, and maybe something we could talk to, it's kind of a tip for women that are going into any kind of birthing, whether it's hypnobirthing or natural birthing or C-section birthing. You have to move that belt. You have to move that heartbeat belt in order for you to be able to follow it, because he's going to be moving or she's going to be moving, and you have to be able to find that heartbeat belt. Otherwise, they will immediately. And even you weren't even having big problems with that, remember? And that was
Right.
the recommendation to you.
Already out of, and I was like,
Absolutely.
no. But I knew my kid. I've had those things every 2 weeks for the last 9 months. I'm like, no, my child moves all the time.
Mhm.
I will hold it myself. And I think because of my lack of pain and just minimal discomfort, I was able to hold it and find him anytime he moved. And they would come in and be like, "Oh, something's wrong with the heart rate. We have to use this monitor." No, you don't.
Mhm.
He's fine.
That's right.
You need to come and move it, but they don't want to. That's time consuming.
Correct.
So I held it myself, and then they're like, "Oh, actually, it is fine. I know
That's right.
he's
That's
fine."
right. Remember that? It was like a aha moment for them. But really,
Uh,
it's not a aha moment for them because they do that with every woman
they
I've
do.
ever worked with. So a little bit of laziness going on with that.
Oh,
And they're busy, right? I mean, they are busy. We got to give them that. So, what would be your recommend? I mean, would you recommend Deeper States Mind? Would you recommend them doing hypnobirthing with me? And if so,
sorry, I lost some audio for a
uh,
second.
can you hear me now? Are you there? Well, give her a moment. She'll come back in.
I don't
Let's
know.
see. I hear you. We can hear you.
You hear me, but I can't hear you, so I don't. Sorry.
That's
My
okay.
screen, everything blacked out for a second,
Okay, you're back
and
on though, right?
then it booted back up. I can
Okay.
see you, but I just can't hear you.
Let me refresh the studio and see if that works. Give me one sec. How's that? Are you back with me again?
There we go. Yes, ma'am. Sorry.
Or- We just had to reset the studio. Sorry about that. So,
Okay.
how would you? And I'm going to give you a moment to talk a little bit about your book that you're authoring, which I'm so excited for. And
Okay.
like I said, I mean, this. We're just seeing the prime of potential, I believe. I think that you're going to go very, very far. Um, what would be your recommendations for someone? Would you recommend using me, using Deeper States Mind and Wellness? Would you recommend us to do a hypnobirthing with somebody who is looking to have a natural childbirth, and also to make it discomfort, not to have discomfort consistently being thrown at you as being this pain moment, or even the belief system of what birthing should be like. I mean, would
Right.
you recommend utilizing a hypnobirthing from Deeper States Mind and Wellness in order for us to be able to go through that process?
Michael, I definitely would. As a matter of fact, I share my story so much. I'm in the position of, as a clinician, and I work with people every day, and I can make recommendations, and I have to be very mindful of what I suggest to my clients. But it is something I truly believe in. Um, it's scientific. There is backing there, and especially for women that are looking to have a different experience, that are looking to combat, these negative mindsets and inoculations we have early on that are constantly around us, and especially surrounding such a sensitive topic as childbirth.
Mhm.
It helps relieve the expectations of what we're supposed to be like and how it's supposed to go. There's so much I benefited from, just outside of the discomfort piece, but as this sense of confidence that I'm doing the right thing. And I know if I go in there and I decide to get an epidural, anyways, I'm not a horrible person.
Correct.
And that is something, I could opt for. But still, it's this place of confidence that you I didn't feel like this monster. I didn't feel like this horrible screaming crazy woman that I've seen on TV. And I'm also getting feedback from the doctors as I was recovering. They're like, you're the only person we see up walking after 2 days. Like, what? How? And if I would feel any sorts of discomfort from the incision, or I would just remember and just breathe through it. And it
That's
was
right.
just like, these are natural processes. The body's going to heal. And they're like, you're up and you're walking around, and here's your oxys. And, it's like, you don't need them. Like, if it's something's coming on, then I can feel it. I'm like, okay, give it to me. But it even really helped post, partum. It
Absolutely.
continues to do so now. I'm 20 days out, and they're like, "What? How do you feel? You're walking, And they're like, "Okay, just take it easy and be mindful of the healing." All
Sure.
those pieces. I'm saying a lot, but you do. But our audience, it
Absolutely.
really is impactful in the moment and even after. I'm still feeling those benefits of our work together. So I would definitely recommend it, and I
And one
do
thing
already.
that's awesome. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. I'm so glad I mean, it was awesome to just be a part of your birthing and to be a part of everything you went through and what you did. Because it's just like I said, every time I do a hypnobirthing, it's a little bit different experience, but
Mm-hmm.
it's really cool to see the process happen and to see
Right.
how the women can actually push the threshold
Mm-hmm.
based on
Yep.
what they want their experience to be like, not based on outside information that may or may not
That's
be
right.
true. Right?
Right.
So tell us a little bit about your books and tell me a little bit about what you're working on back there, how you're getting
Okay.
that all together.
Well, awesome. Well, my website is insightme.com. So that's the letter N, SIGHTME.com. So here I conduct live webinars twice a month on various mental health topics. I find that just education, Michael, is so helpful with um, problems that if people just knew or were told this is the theory, this is what's happening, just educating ourselves on what we're experiencing has been so helpful. I understand this information because I studied it. I went to school, so I'm giving information to clients, and I find that when I'm just explaining how to help yourself, how to look for signs and symptoms, where to go, I am equipping my clients with tools, resources that they feel more confident about making decisions, and knowing that the decisions that they're making, they understand why they're doing it. So the webinars are very important on just various topics of stress and wellness, and especially during the pandemic right now, people are like, is this
Absolutely.
normal? Should I be this stressful? Can I sleep? So I'm doing that, webinars, consultations, trainings, and I'm working on a series of books for explaining mental health issues to children, adolescents, why you may see these books out. But what I'm doing is I am titrating it to the developmental stage that they're in,
Oh, very cool.
or that we're in. Sometimes you have kids that are 5, but they operate like a 7-year-old. And sometimes you have 7-year-olds that are operating like 5-year-olds. So it's important about the developmental stage your child is in and meeting them where they're at in regards to talking about topics. Sadly, because we are in this pandemic, death is a topic that's coming up quite a bit. And I'm having a lot of clients ask, how do I explain this to my child that, their mom or their teacher or their grandmother is gone? We don't
Sure.
know how. Where do I find this information? Now, for me, as a clinician, I've done these things. So I know. And that's why I'm saying that putting out this material to have for everyone to have access to, and tips on how to, it's sad, normalize certain experiences as we see it more for our children versus trying to keep it from them or shelter them, and then it just hits or it's ignored or it's left under the rug and it creates another problem. So
Sure.
various topics there dealing with mental illness in the family. I have one specifically for foster kids and how they have to change homes a lot. and what are their emotions and how are they able to process them. And this one's for caregivers to sit down and be able to read to a child that comes into their home or an adolescent that comes into their home on how to help them process emotions. So a lot of
Very
different
cool.
topics that are workbooks and things like that for my
That's awesome.
clients or my audience.
Very exciting. Very exciting. Do we have a launch date for those books?
We do not have a launch date. I am, in writing, and when you're a perfectionist, it's difficult. I definitely can see one or two being out by the end of the year because they're smaller. They're like colored,
Sure.
a lot less words, but it's more putting those pieces together with illustrators and things like that. Just bringing it together, and again, really pinpointing it to a developmental stage, so it's not going over the child's head,
Sure.
or the
Sure.
caregiver's head.
Very
So yeah,
cool.
end of the
Awesome.
year.
Very good. All right. We'll have to check back in and see how that's coming along.
Definitely. And meanwhile, I mean, you
Okay.
can pop into webinars that are coming up in April. I, took March off for the obvious, some pregnancy leave and connecting with the baby. That'll be starting back up in April. So you can
Okay.
check the site for those. There'll be, suicide prevention and spotting signs and symptoms, interventions coming up. I do a spring break one on self care. And again, things like this will come up of how do you take care of yourselves as well as
Sure.
stress and then dealing with anxiety. So those are the ones that'll be coming up in the month of April that you can tune into.
Very cool. Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Robinson.
You are very welcome.
We have become friends, so it's so funny to say Dr. Robinson.
It is. Thank
But I want to thank you
you.
so much. I really do. I mean, I think it's so important for women out there that are looking for a natural birth or even who are afraid of childbirth. I mean, to for us to be able to reach out and for me to be able to kind of guide them through the pathway since I've done it and I kind of can give them hints and kind of help them mentally,
Right,
especially when it comes to actually dealing with the discomfort and the mindset, right?
right.
So thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate you taking the time, and I think we'll bring him on sometime, and or maybe we can get some pictures of him. And
Sure. I'm like, he's, if you want, I'll go and grab him, let you see. He's like,
yeah,
ah, okay.
let's bring him on.
I'll take you up front with me. He's
Okay, very cool.
definitely, yeah, he's a love bug, man. Hope he's awake right now.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, he's
he's really
adorable.
easy breezy, very easy breezy. Let's see
He-
where my little joy is.
So when he hits like
Relaxing, isn't he?
5, he's gonna be asking you for hypnosis MP3 so he can chill.
We can
Oh,
say
look at
hello.
him. Oh,
Relaxing,
oh,
getting a
and it'd
little
be
back
so
rub.
nice to sleep that well.
He sleeps very well all the time. And he's super long. He's way as long as the couch
Oh,
mat. But yeah, he just hangs out and relaxes. Not even sleeping, just almost there.
oh, how
Say
cute.
hello,
Awesome.
Michael.
Hey,
Yeah, he
little
definitely
guy.
sleeps regularly. Um, wakes every 2, 3 hours. Sometimes I have to like, come on, wake up.
Yeah, very
He's
cool.
doing tummy time. He's up. He moves his head around. He's almost about to roll over. He holds his bottle up himself. He's really active, very calm, but
That's
just
awesome. That's
sits.
great.
So you see how he's just laying there? He's like, that's all he does. He
Just
just
chilling out.
watches you, he smiles, you know.
Yeah.
So, and again, that can scare people. We've taken him to the doctor. He's had his visits. They're like developmentally, he's on track. With everything, healthy labs, all that. So I'm like, people are like, oh, it's because he's sick. That's why, like,
Oh,
no,
geez.
he's calm. He's healthy. All his reflexes, everything. So normal, happy, healthy baby, just cool,
Very
you
cool.
know?
Awesome. Very,
Thank
very
you.
cool. I really appreciate you being with me today. And again, if anybody's interested in coming in, just you can get a hold of me at michael@deeperstate.com, info@deeperstate.com. You can give us a call at 562-426-6884. Um, Press one, that'll bring you into the home office. And if I am not available, we will get you one of our other therapists who is well versed in it as well. But we're here for you, and I appreciate it. And as always, here to bring you truth and understanding about hypnosis and NLP, how you can utilize it in your life. And it's not a pocket watch trick. It's not that exciting, but it does some pretty awesome stuff in the world. So, all right, Pacoya, I'm going to put you down into the green room and I'm going to wrap this show up. If you want to hang out in the green room, we'll talk in a little bit, okay?
All right, thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. All right, everybody. And that kind of cool? Pretty awesome, huh? It's pretty cool that, I mean, I kind of see it all the time. I see the power of hypnosis and NLP all the time. But it's great to get a client's perspective as to how they experienced it and what happened to them and how they went through the process with me. Because you don't really know what's happening unless you're inside that person's body and inside that person's mind, right? Anyway, thank you guys so much. I do appreciate you joining me here once again. Thirsty Thursdays every Thursday. I'm on Facebook at Deeper State Mind and Wellness. I do a Thirsty Thursdays, and we'll talk about hypnosis or ideas and things that you can actually utilize with hypnosis. And then what we'll do is I actually do a session, a small session every Thursday for you guys who want to do hypnosis at home or and kind of go into trance state with me. We're starting a podcast. It's not out yet, but it's going to be called Taking the Hocus Pocus Out of Hypnosis. And that'll talk a lot about kind of, what the whole thing about like the pocket watch and stage shows and mind control and all that. Maybe even a little bit of kind of how mind control has been looked at throughout, the whole world kind of events. Um, you can visit La Maison, which is our natural candles and soaps and lotions over on Facebook. It's just La Maison page. And there's some product on there right now, but we're hoping to get more product on there as we go along. Anyway, thank you everybody so much. I appreciate you guys. Again, Michael Almaraz. I'm a clinical neurolinguistic programming hypnotherapist, and I use hypnosis in everything I do, as well as NLP. If you're looking to change your life and get relief and be able to succeed in natural hypnobirthing, let's say you're allergic to anesthesia, we're here for you. Again, Michael at deeperstate.com, or you can call me at 562-426-6884. Thank you guys. Have a great day. Have a great night. And share this video if you'd like to. Your friends to be knowledgeable about hypnosis. Feel free to share this and to like these videos. Thank you guys. Take care.